Hey guys, welcome to another Using GarageBand.com video. In this video, I'll be teaching you how to import samples, manipulate them to create beats, export your beats, and add them to the loop library. I've mentioned it on my website before that Looperman.com and Freesound.org are great places to find free samples and drum kits. The samples I'm using today are all from Looperman. I'm going to import a couple basic kick drums. I'll use this one and another one on the same track. I'm also going to be needing a hi-hat and a snare drum. I'll import these on separate tracks. It's good when you import different kinds of samples to import them onto different tracks in case later you decide to mix them down, like join them together into one region, or if you want to add different effects to different sounds, like reverb on your snare but not onto your hi-hat. I'm just going to name my different tracks right now so that I can tell them apart. You can do this by double-clicking in the text on each track. Now I'm going to zoom in on my main timeline and start the actual beat construction. Keep in mind, like with the rest of my tutorials, I'm just showing you how to create a beat. I'm not saying that this is exactly the sort of beat you should be creating, but just so that you can get an idea and implement your own samples the way you want to. This sort of hi-hat sequence is very common in lots of hip-hop and rap music. What I'm doing right now is just setting up a closed hi-hat to be on the first, second, and third eighth notes in the measure, then a more open hi-hat followed again by the same sequence. Now I'm going to reorganize my kick drum and snare placement. And now we got ourselves a pretty simple one-bar beat. We're not done yet though. There's a few things I'd like to show you before we move forward here. Unless you went ahead and did it already, none of your samples are made to follow the tempo and the pitch of your song if you alter your project's tempo or pitch. Notice as I demonstrate. What we can do to remedy this, however, is join all of our regions in one track together to be looped continuously over and over again, and so that we can make it follow the tempo and the pitch of our song if we decide to change it. Notice how I'm adding an additional kick drum sample into my kick drum track that's not actually going to be played. I'm just doing this because whenever you join regions together, they're only joined as far as the end of the last sample. So if I want my region, when it's all joined together, to be one bar, I'm going to need to put a sample past the 1 bar mark. I'm just exporting my beat now as a MP3 file so that all my different tracks are going to be mixed down into one consolidated file that I can import back into GarageBand when I'm done. You can do this by going to Share, Export to Disk. I chose the MP3 setting right now, which is compressed, but it really doesn't matter what sort of audio file you'd like to export as. Generally, AIFs are a much better quality, so if you want to retain the quality of your original beat, I would suggest exporting it as an AIF file. Otherwise, if it's going on the web, export it as a MP3. Now I'm bringing my exported beat back into GarageBand, and I'm going to mute off the rest of the tracks I have. And now if I select my consolidated file, I can go to Edit, Add to Loop Library, and actually add the beat that I've made into my own personal loops. So that way if I want to use it in a different song later on, I can just drag and drop it into my project and it'll automatically conform to my song tempo. When you add your loop to the loop library in GarageBand, you can select the different genres or styles that your loop falls under just to better categorize it so you can find it easier later. Go to the very top of the loop browser, and from the drop-down menu that currently says loops, select My Loops, and your loop should appear under that category. So that's really it on importing samples and manipulating audio. I touched on beat fundamentals today, and I want to make another video that elaborates more on how to make beats and really gets into that. So stay tuned, and in the meantime, go to usinggarageband.com. Thanks, guys.